very well remember, because I was in the headquarters in the Asia department then, before me going to China when the Galwan happened, so we were probably one of the first countries to call India and to express our solidarity, because we feel that that sort of bullying and that sort of behavior is not acceptable. So we have expressed, the respect of India's interests and sovereignty on a number of instances.
You used a word, actually you are bullied by your neighbor in your borders. We are actually. So we have heard that German troops are now deployed in Lithuania. So can you just tell me, is Lithuania is scared or is feeling a threat from Russia?
Of course, you have an active war with cities and civilians bombed on a daily basis in a neighboring country, which is 500 kilometers away from our borders. But not that only. Geographical affinity is one. We feel the war. We have Ukrainian refugees, big number. For our small 3 million population, we have almost close to 100,000, 80,000 to be precise, of Ukrainian refugees who have come and stayed, and we have accepted them with open arms. But on the eve of this war, Mr. Putin in fact made a speech in which he announced a special military operation, and I'm a little sad to see that the second part of his speech has been by and large overlooked, because first he declared that special military operation invoking various fake reasons, Nazis and whatever, but the second part he said very clearly it's his mission to restore Soviet Union, the glory of Russia with restoring Soviet Union and uniting Slavic lands. So we are not Slavic land, we've never been, but the others in the region who have not even been Soviet Union proper, but we have been dominated by Soviet Union are Slavic, and I think we've all shuddered, and it was a very clear moment to them that this was a declaration of restoration of Russian Empire. So what we are basically seeing them is the attempt. Luckily, it's a failed attempt. I don't see Russia. The various pessimistic assessments are now very popular to spread, but I urge you to look at the end game, what Russians wanted. The Russians wanted Ukraine, and they're not getting it. Ukrainians basically want to remain on the map, and they are remaining on the map. So I see that Ukraine had won in many ways already, because it has reasserted that they are a nation, they are a separate country, which Russia in fact argues and tries to dispute even as we speak. At some point last year they have said they have de-recognized Moldova. What is this? Who gives this guy a right to recognize and de-recognize the countries at his whims? So it is very serious. And if you ask me, are we afraid? We are, because my son has cried in bed asking when are Russians bombing us. The first 2 or 3 months were very scary, and luckily now we are we are in NATO, and now we only see that it's our choices and our it was not an easy thing to get into NATO basically, but our attempts and our efforts have been validated, because very frankly I tell you, I sit here just because we are in NATO. I would have been dead by now. I would have been in a labor camp in Siberia, had we not been in NATO. It's as serious as that. So to me, I don't feel very apologetic about this. And coming back to your question on NATO troops, despite the fact that we have been in NATO for 20 years now, we are exactly celebrating 20 years of membership in NATO, we had not had permanent NATO troops. So this war, in fact, was what made us shout very loud, say, hello, this is an aggressor country in the neighborhood which has designs on us. So despite, NATO really tried not to be provocative, but the reality is such. So finally we are getting the German troops on our soil, which is just legitimate for a member country, because we are entitled and we are able to come to this agreement of collective defense. But that only speaks to us being firm in deterring Russia, because we all know, it's no secret that this was a very foolish decision to invade Ukraine. It caused a major bloodshed and a lot of unhappiness in the region. but it has caused the prices soar up, and the effects have been felt from Bangladesh to Nigeria, everywhere. It's a very global collection of effects. But they're not really getting what they want, and that's the only thing. So I think it's very important to deter Russia from do any other silly silly decision. So yes, we all agree by now that it was very foolish of Russia to invade Ukraine, because it hadn't produced the desired result. It caused massive bloodshed, suffering, destruction. But it also caused a major impact globally in prices, especially of food and so on. So the effects are felt very globally. So it's extremely important for us to deter Russia from making another foolish step, because they seem to be capable of miscalculating that way. So yeah, German troops, any other, last year we hosted NATO summit, which took a number of decisions, basically very important for our collective security and our own security. So coming back to your question, are we afraid? I don't think we are afraid any longer. We were, as I said, in initial stages, but we are alerted, and we continue to be alarmed, and we will continue unless this war is over. So unless Mr. Putin is stopped, because he has this choice, we will be alert and in the mood to deter this country from another very foolish and very painful steps.
An American news outlet mentioned about Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi that he interfered, and he played a big role in Russia-Ukraine war actually. So how do you see Prime Minister Narendra Modi role in this whole scenario?
Well, we have definitely welcomed the stance of India that was, espoused by Prime Minister Modi, who told Mr. Putin very clearly that this is not the era of war. I think it was a much needed step at that time, and it remains a much needed effort. So of course we welcome very much, and with India having grown into a global power, we really look forward to stepping up India's role in peacemaking, because you definitely have very good credit for a country which has never attacked anyone, which has been peaceful, which has this great civilizational value of peace and bringing peace and non-violence into the discourse on peace, and we look forward to further positive role of India. And now that there would be talks in Switzerland, another round of talks based on President Zelensky's peace formula, we definitely look at India with a lot of expectation for their positive role. And we all hear that this is happening, and India is taking part in that very global effort to solidify the criteria for the peace in Ukraine.
Do you think that Mr. Modi is the global leader and he can do a drastic job in the Russia-Ukraine war?
Well, I definitely hope. We have expectations. We have very high expectations, and we'll see in the concrete decision-making process in Switzerland and beyond. I know that Ukrainian foreign minister came here specifically with the idea of discussing the greater involvement of India in this war, and also I guess India has been stepping up its role also in other areas, in other conflicts of the world, and wars and aggressions of the world. So definitely, it's one of the biggest countries in the world. It very much deserves to be, in the room with the table where the main players sit.
We have seen and read many news articles regarding Belarus is actually playing a major role. Actually, with Russia, many Russian troops are in Belarus. Russian missiles are deployed in Belarus, and you guys share border with Belarus. So don't you think that this is actually on your backside, that the threat is on your backside? It can come anytime, and Russia always told that NATO is the only reason why they attacked Ukraine?
Well, I have to dispel that lie because Ukraine has never asked for membership in NATO till 2014. And as you know, I was, you remember 2014 when Russia grabbed Crimea, when they introduced their little green men and then took over the peninsula, never had before Ukraine asked to be part of NATO. Only after it was attacked very blatantly, very unexpectedly to everyone, they have asked for NATO, because then they saw that they are unable to defend themselves in that way. So this is a lie already. On Russia and Belarus, well, I have to say it's of course very sorry situation where you see the territory of our neighbor being used, for NATO, for Russian military expansion, deploying troops and threatening Ukraine from there, because it's of course geographically very favorable to us. But I have to say the authorities of Belarus chose to have this path by denying the will of the people. They have rigged the elections. The legitimate leaders who would have been leaders had to run, and they are in Lithuania at the moment. So we do not consider these authorities as legitimate authorities, and then, they are basically implementing the Kremlin agenda.